Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm Szamuely, and with me today, of course, is co-founder of The Gaggle, Peter Lavelle, host of RT's talk show Crosstalk. Well, it seems as if the alternative to Twitter, which is Parler, is back online. Not fully back, but there has been a message from its CEO indicating that it might well be fully back to working order within a matter of days. How this has come about is a little bit of a mystery. The media are speculating that found a new host, Epic, which is also the host of another alternative to Twitter, namely Gab. And coincidentally, Tim Cook, Apple CEO, is indicating that he might allow Parler back onto the Apple store. What this is really indicating, I think, is that Twitter, Facebook, and the rest of the internet giants massively underestimated the blowback that took place following the banning of President Trump. These people live in a bubble of their own and think that praise from CNN, MSNBC, and the New York Times is sufficient to get you through life. But of course, it isn't. We've had the reaction from governments all over the world, from governments of the left, like the Mexican president, to governments of the center, like Chancellor Angela Merkel and President Emmanuel Macron, and who are very troubled by the idea of corporations arrogating to themselves who does and who does not get to speak, including the president. And ultimately, alternatives are now coming rapidly to the fore. And Parler will definitely be a alternative to Twitter, because once Donald Trump decamps to Parler, as he almost certainly will, and he takes his 88 million Twitter followers with him, Twitter may well be for the birds. And I'm sure that Twitter shareholders are absolutely terrified and enraged by Jack Dorsey, who has led them to disaster. All right, what's your take, Pete?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, if there's going to be demand out there, it will be met. Okay, I mean, hosting these platforms is good money. Okay, well, somebody else is going to do it. All right, I mean, I've been told by many people that have had interactions with Dorsey, he's just not a very bright guy. Okay, just maybe he's got some kind of technical thing and rattling around in his head that he's good at. I don't know, okay? But I mean, this is just dumb. I mean, you and I have talked way before we even started the gaggle, is that once Trump goes, Twitter will be irrelevant. I mean, its entire existence, its entire ecosystem is dependent on Trump, okay? Right. And once he's gone, or he migrates somewhere else, and Twitter will be, remember those days when there was something called Twitter? Okay, I'm not joking. Okay, or it'll just be this little, wokeistan, idiot sphere where people will start eating at each other. Okay, I mean, it'll just, the Thumador will come, and great, good, go ahead, that's fine. Now, one of the things we still don't know yet is that if this app will be made available on other platforms, like on the Apple Store, Google's services. I mean, okay, they can function, but can you find a way to get on, now? Okay, I guess if you're on, you're on. Okay, right. So that will have to be managed. But what's it been, like a week or so? I mean, they've marshaled their forces, and they're back, and they're more popular than ever now. Okay, that is the place to go. Okay, that is the place to be. And good going, Jack. Right. I didn't explain that to your shareholders. Okay, right. You delivered 80 million plus in a matter of a week to your competitor.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. It's what happens when you are living in this bubble and you think, great, we've got the New York Times in our corner. We've got the Washington Post behind us. You got CNN behind us. I say, yeah, you have sponsor to your shareholders. And if your shareholders suddenly seeing their stock plummeting, And then you've got a serious problem on your hands. And I think, and this is clearly it. I mean, Twitter really only took off in 2015 when Trump, began his campaign and used Twitter as his primary means of communication. Suddenly, Twitter became this hot thing. Twitter could just simply, go back to what it was, which was a fairly obscure outlet. And I think the same is going to happen to the others, Facebook, which is that, well, if there are alternatives, people will migrate to.
I'll go there in a heartbeat, a heartbeat.
What do they need this for? Who the hell is Zuckerberg to start making these decisions? You're deplatformed, you're a Russian bot, you're a far right extremist. We're not going to have this posting or that posting. And I say, well, what do we need this for?
This is what, and this whole episode is so telling, is that the blessings from CNN, the Washington Post, and New York Times means nothing. No. It means nothing. Okay, who cares?
Right.
And this is what it. And see, will there be a come to Jesus moment for these people? I doubt it. Okay, but you brought it up almost virtually in your first sentence. The shareholders will. Okay. Right. I mean, we're not here for for sermonizing. We invested in this company for a return on our investment. Okay. And you're the guy that is supposed to deliver that, all right? So that, what a fiasco. But another thing that's very telling here, and I wonder if they're going, these big tech guys will exhale for a second and think, is that, are they the arbiters of who can be on the internet? Well, okay. I mean, I'm going to be doing a crosstalk later here. And, so Facebook and Twitter supersede the Constitution. Okay, that's an interesting theory to test. Okay, I mean, and people are going to obviously say no. All right, obviously no. I mean, it all explains the impeachment and the right. I didn't know that half the country were white supremacists. I grew up there. I spent decades of my life there. I had no idea. No idea. The night of the body snatchers. I missed the whole thing.
That's right. Yeah. White supremacists who twice voted overwhelmingly for a black man to be president.
Hussein Obama.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is very, very good news here, and this is just this is for their upcomings. That they have to understand their place in this online universe. It's not your playground, and other people have their marbles. Remember that.
That's right. And then if you think about it, so now what the social media are facing is that governments around the world are going to start putting restrictions on the activities of social media. I mean, everyone's going to do that. I mean, it's like you say, hey, you come into our country and you're obviously taking sides in the political fights that go on in our country. Well, we're not going to allow it. I mean, you have this enormous power and you use it irresponsibly. So there's going to be many countries are going to say, well, we're going to put a ban, at the very least, a ban on the social media for the 3 months of an election. Or we put in all sorts of restrictions, like Poland is now putting a restriction on Twitter and Facebook, which is, you cannot ban anything that is not contrary to Polish law. So in other words, that's you want to be here, you can only ban if it's contrary to Polish law. So, and I think more and more countries are going to do this. So again, these Zuckerberg and Dorseys have just simply not realized the massive reaction that they have provoked.
It's so interesting, the power of these platforms and then the lack of intelligence from the people that run them. I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. It's something I don't think has ever happened before. All right. I mean, of course. And all of this gets back to this rage that people had against Donald Trump and the rise and new attractiveness of populism, because the system doesn't work for the majority of the people. I mean, I'm speaking slowly and using very simple words to describe it. That's why this is happening. It's not Donald Trump. He's just a phenomena reacting to this all. And you guys should all wake up and realize that and take a breath and relax a little bit, okay? Because you're not the mandarins of the universe. You're not going to create the new person, okay? You
Right.
know, you're just not. You might be there if it ever happens, but you're not going to be the shakers and the movers to make it happen.
Right. It seems to be a tendency among billionaires, I guess through history, is that they acquire this I don't know, this Jesus-like idea about themselves, that they're you know, the coming man, and they're, you know, they know the answers to all of the problems, and you know, they will solve all of humanity's outstanding issues. It doesn't happen that way. And I think, you know, Zuckerberg and Twitter, and now when you think about the government filing these antitrust suits against Google, and I'm sure there's going to be the same stuff in Europe, you know, the antitrust is so blatant. I mean, you know, there is no way in the world that Google can survive this. I mean, this is worse than what Microsoft was doing in the 90s. I mean, it's
Far worse and far simpler.
yeah.
Because I mean, with the Microsoft thing, you know, it is nuanced. It is complicated here, but this isn't. And you say three major platforms gang up and get rid of another one because there's a competitor,
Right.
and they colluded. Okay, that's RICO shit. Okay, that's RICO.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. But all of the cases like Google and YouTube, and then Google is directing its search engine directs people to YouTube video platform rather than other video platform, and then the Google, when it puts in its particular store on the mobile phone. I mean, this is so blatant.
And that's what Microsoft did, and that's why it got in so much trouble. But they're repeating exactly the same thing.
Right. Exactly right. That's exactly what Microsoft did.
You know what I just find really bizarre before we end this here? I mean, Bezos, when he was in front of Congress and avoiding answering any direct question, at least there was some kind of authenticity about that guy. He was kind of looking this way and looking down. Well, not that I'm too aware of. You know, I mean, he showed guilt. Okay, the rest of them didn't even blink an eye. Okay, but the question to him was, and I'm paraphrasing here, is that, you know, do you have services that direct a customer to your preferred Amazon products? And he is, yeah, it happens. I'm aware of it. Okay, but when he was answering that question, I was thinking, you're the richest man in the history of the world,
right?
And you can't hold your you can't fight the temptation to squeeze a little bit more. Okay, I mean, my goodness. I mean, if you were, you know, a fledgling company and you got 25 employees, you know, you're gonna work 20 hours a day and you're gonna squeeze everything out of everybody just to make it. But you know how many he made? Like $60 billion during this crisis here. I mean, that's pathological.
Right.
And what you do is destroying the marketplace itself.
Of course.
Okay.
And so it goes with this horrific greed and the messianic complex. You know, I'm the savior of humanity. I squeeze every penny out of everybody. I don't share it with anyone. But I'm also the savior. I know what's best for American society, for every society around the world. It's absolutely insulting.
You know, all these people, they could take a look at Rockefeller and his empire, and it actually stands as a template for breaking up Standard Oil, breaking up his empire, which was the most vast at the time, and he was the richest man ever in history up at that point. But what he did was he actually made it the mission of the Rockefellers that would follow him is to give it away. And they did. They gave away a huge amount of it. Remember when Nelson Rockefeller was being approved to be vice president? His brothers and the Rockefeller family were furious that he was opening up the family books. You know why? Because they didn't want anyone to know that they really weren't so rich anymore. Okay.
Well, the interesting thing is, of course, is that today's billionaires, I mean, it's not, in relative terms, I mean, not in legalized side, absolute terms, they far exceed the wealth of John D. Rockefeller. I mean, at the time he was so fantastically wealthy, but it's just mind-boggling when you talk about what Bezos is worth. I mean, we talk about, I don't know, $130 billion. I mean, this is just staggering sums of money.
In his net wealth
Right,
can change a $10 billion in one day in one direction.
right, right,
Think about that. In one day.
right.
So I mean, good on Parler, and for anyone that's going to criticize you and me for sticking up for Parler. I'm not sticking up for everything that is ever put on Parler. No way, no way. It's a platform, remember? But Parler was part of the insurrection and the rioting and all that. There's ample evidence that plenty of people were chatting away about this on Twitter and on Facebook. So it's hypocrisy. It was all about taking advantage of an opportune moment to get rid of your competition, a platform that was up and coming. And because of Jack and your asinine behavior and thinking, now Parler really is a competitor. And
Right.
it's
No, I think
all on you, Jack. It's all on you.
Absolutely. And that's why it's important to look at the timeline. The timeline is Trump is banned from Twitter. And within hours, there's a coordinated move by Apple and Google, and then a couple of days later with Amazon to crush Parler. Well, why are they doing it? Because they know exactly what Trump is going to do once he's banned from Twitter. He goes to Parler and he takes all his people with him. That's why they move within hours to get Parler. So yeah, absolutely, it was in order to crush the competition.
And I wouldn't be surprised, because of these people that are just have nothing else to do but write these little messages here. I think a lot of them will go to Parler just to kind of see what's going on. You know what I mean? Because it's not mission accomplished in a weird way over at Twitter. Okay, I mean their purpose has been served. What's the point in sitting on this app, hearing an echo chamber all day long? People will get bored of that.
Right. No, I think so. I think the shareholders are going to start saying we cannot have a buffoon like Jack Dorsey running this company. I mean, there's a lot of money people have invested in this company. I mean, so you can't just have somebody who's, I don't know what his talents are. I mean, obviously he knows something about programming or whatever, but he certainly has no talent in how to run a giant multinational corporation.
He could have just been a lot more magnanimous and just sort of said, look at the beauty of these kind of things. People are expressing opinions here. And you know what's best? I don't want to get involved in it. I want the community to do it. This is what this was supposed to be all about. We have to talk to each other, not ban each other. And he could have taken the high ground. Right. And just, just leave Trump alone. Okay.
Right,
I mean,
right. And it's clear from the series of tweets that he sent out last week, which were very whining and self-pitying, that he's sort of realizing that he's probably, dug his own grave. That's why the tone is just very, just whiny. It's why are you all picking on me? So because he knows the shareholders are pissed, countries around the world are pissed, and he's for the birds.
Well, R.I.P.
All right. Well, thank you, Peter.
Not.
So if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.